Okie doke. Well, welcome everyone to the Public Practice Accountants Club on Clubhouse, where public practitioner, thought leaders, industry specialists, and accountants just like you discuss hot topics in public practice and how they go about navigating the public practice landscape around the world. So, fundamentally, public practice has the same principles, dynamics, and challenges no matter where we are in the world. We might have different tax seasons, busy periods, and legislation, but at the core, we are very much the same. So, we're talking this morning about how to be the leader you know you want to be. So, I just noticed we've got some new people in the room this morning, which is fabulous. Welcome, everybody. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Linda Steffens. I am an accountant and author and an introvert, and I've been hanging around accounting and public practice, particularly for 30 years now. Golly gosh, time flies when you're having fun. I have owned my own accounting businesses. I've been a practice manager for many years. And now what I do is I coach and educate accountants, specifically around integrating advisory services alongside their compliance books, but also just how to make their businesses and their teams run a whole lot more efficiently and smoother. I absolutely love that because I think accountants have so much to offer the world. And if I can help them do that, then that's a wonderful thing for me to do. And of course, I have my amazing co-host with me this morning as well, Kyelie Baxter. Good morning.
Good morning, Linda. I think I know most of the people in the room, but I'll introduce myself anyway. So yes, my name's Kyelie Baxter. I own an accounting firm down here at the beautiful but very rainy today Gold Coast. It's been shocking weather this week, umbrella for sure. Leadership is our topic today, and I'm really excited about talking about this because, as embarrassing as it is to admit, I accidentally fell into being a leader with no preconceived ideas, very much thought about it, or much knowledge about it either. So really looking forward to chatting about this one today. It's going to be a good topic.
Excellent. Thank you, Kyelie. And of course, those of you that have been around Clubhouse for a little while, you will know that it's a great app to do a bit of networking on. You can click on people's profiles, see who they are. You might like to follow them in Clubhouse or connect with them in another way, and that will be there on their profile for you to have a look at. They can't see you doing that, so it's all good, and you can reach out to them when you want to. Okay, so just a quick reminder before we kick off the discussion, it is always that our conversation is always to be positive, supportive, and collaborative as we come together in support of our amazing industry, no matter where we are in the world. So also, Kyelie and I are very happy to chat and talk between ourselves about our topics because we love to do that. But we'd love to hear from you too. So if you have a question or you'd like to add something to the discussion or take it in a different direction, we would absolutely welcome that. And all you need to do is to raise your hand and click on the little hand icon at the bottom of the screen. And that allows us to just unmute you and invite you up to the stage if you want to say hello. Even if that's all you want to do is say hello to us, right, Kyelie?
Yes, we love people to say hello.
Yes.
Conversation. It really adds value for other people in the room.
It does. All right. How to be the leader you know you want to be. What kind of leader do you actually want to be for your team? You probably already know there's more to it than just overseeing performance, delegating tasks, managing workflow, those sorts of things. And the best leaders, we sort of see them around the world, whether that's in public life, personal, business. They have this sort of X factor about them, I think, that separates them from the rest. So being a great leader in my mind is not necessarily an inherent attribute. I think definitely it's a skill that we can learn. And I love your reflection, Kyelie, which I think could kick us both off on this topic, because I had a similar experience with leadership. So tell me how you found yourself in leadership roles.
Well, it's a really interesting thing because obviously you go and you're a little baby accountant doing the accountant work, and my experience, and Johnny's in the room this morning, so he knows the story. My experience was that I was just this little baby accountant doing all the accountant things, and then my husband and there's all these things that went on in between, and there was a progression track, obviously. My husband and I decided that we wanted to relocate to the Gold Coast, and the partners of the firm at that time, John was one of them, bought a very small practice here on the coast, and I came down and ran that practice. That was a lot of fun and very interesting, because the people that previously owned the firm stayed on and worked there for a short period of time. So I would say my first, I guess, entry into leadership was a bit trial by fire, but all good. And one of those people that actually worked there is still one of my very good mates today. So that worked out pretty well for me.
That's nice.
But yeah, there's so many things to leadership that you just don't think about, like there's obviously the practicalities of running the show, but there's so much human element that goes into it. There's that executive presence that everyone talks about that we probably need to unpack a little bit more.
Yes.
There's all these things that go without saying that you just don't know about.
No, that's exactly right. And I think certainly in what I've seen in the accounting industry, we get promoted because we're good technicians, we're good at our jobs, we're good at our work. All of a sudden, we find ourselves in management roles, which then require leadership skills and people skills. And it's like, oh, wow, hang on, I'm just really happy doing my work and I don't know what this leadership thing is all about, or even the management thing. So I think that's traditionally what our leaders or owners of practices have done. And I think it's a bit, they see something in you and then they just go, here, try this. And it's a bit sink and swim for us all, and just see how you go. If I reflect on my journey, and I do a lot of reflecting because I tell a lot of stories about my life these days. And when I actually look back into my personal life, I would have never thought of this, but funnily enough, my leadership attributes were almost there all the time. Even though I wasn't trying, that was not my thing. I was humble, I was quiet, but people seemed to want to know what I thought, or, what are we doing, Linda? They're just looking to me for direction. And that has been a general thing in my whole life. So funnily enough, when we find ourselves in these roles, take a look back at your personal life, because I think you will be more of a leader than you think you are. I think it's our nature to go, we can't lead, that's not me, all a bit humble about that sort of side of things, but I think it's there,
Are you the oldest in your family?
I am. You think that's something? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I totally do.
Okay.
Like, I think if you're the eldest child, you do end up with some natural leadership abilities.
Fair enough.
They've been ingrained in you from a young age, where it's the small things, right? Like you hold your little brother or sister's hand, you do things, you help out, so I think some of the leadership qualities that you need to learn, like decision making and critical thinking and those sorts of things, are learnt at an earlier age when you are an eldest child.
Absolutely.
Or not the youngest.
Not the youngest, yes, not the baby of the family, perhaps, yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit too about this executive presence that you were talking about, Kylie. Let's start unpacking that. Executive presence. Yeah, what is it? It's really that X factor, that thing that you can't put your finger on, isn't it? What makes you look at somebody and go, yep, trust them, like what they're doing, I'm going to follow what they say, or because I think that's what leadership really is about. It's about trust.
Yeah. I think that executive presence thing is about somebody's ability to inspire you, to give them your confidence.
Yes.
Yes, I believe in you as a leader.
Yes. Yeah. And I've heard a lot, just with leadership in general, leadership is not a job role. Like, it's not a position description. You don't decide that you're a leader. Your employers don't decide that you're a leader. It's the people around you that will decide that if you're a leader or not. So it's something I think that, yes, we can all work on, but it is definitely skill-based in how you go about that. Would you say that's fair?
Yes and no. I think some roles definitely lend themselves to you must have leadership skills.
Yes.
And it's very obvious to yourself and those around you if you're in a role where those leadership skills will be handy and they're lacking.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think then as accountants, sometimes we can get so wrapped up in doing our work, the way, particularly in public practice, the way we cost and bill work, is all based around time. We're so busy doing that we overlook or don't put some time or resources into actually learning about leadership and what that is.
Yeah. So maybe we should talk about how to get this executive presence thing.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
How do we get the executive presence, Kyelie?
Well, I think when we think about the fact that it's, having an executive presence is when other people have confidence in you.
Yep.
It comes down to one of our favorite things to talk about, which is communication.
Yes.
But even to break that down a little bit more, it's about articulating your vision or your company's vision really, really well. And when I say articulate that really well, it's not just, hey, this is what we're doing, but this is also why we're doing it and how we're doing it.
Yes, yes.
Because that's when you are a leader, your job is to get people to get on your bus.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not like, I'm on the bus, see ya. And hope people
or I want you on my bus, here's the ticket, just hop on.
Exactly.
People have to decide to hop on for themselves.
Yeah. So I think it's about the articulation of the vision and not only the what, but the why and the how.
I agree. And absolutely that, again, this is something I don't think we think about as accountants, whether we have a personal why or a business why do we do what we do? And so absolutely, when I'm in my coaching space, that's where I start with everybody. So it's all about what do you value? Why do you do what you do? And so going through that exercise for yourself is super important. And you all might notice that at the top of the page, I think you can see it, or the top of your screen, I've pinned a list of values words for you, just so if you're interested to have a look at them. Now, it's an extensive list because accountants love lists, and we love, to make sure that there's enough on there. So it is a very extensive list. You want to download that though, but I reckon the actual exercise that you can go through if you're interested in doing it during the week is to go through that list of words, find 20 that stick out to you, just highlight them or tick them or make a note, write them down on a pad. Got your first 20, then go back, cut them down to 10, go back again, cut them down to 5, go back again, cut them down to 3.
And now you've got your homework, everyone. We'll see you next week. Report back. No, that is actually really valuable.
Because we don't think about this, right? Yes,
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Because where do you start? What do you do? Because we just don't know where to start. So what having these values does is it gives you that framework for behaviour, your own plus others, communication, team alignment, and all of those things. But yeah, if you then can say, this is what's important to me, and then others will follow based on whether they agree with that or, if it's something that they align to or you inspire them to, that's a good place to start, right?
I think it's also, but it's also understanding how other people take you. It's like that we all learn differently. Well, we all communicate and perceive each other differently as well. So sometimes our approach to our work in general or our lives in general does not suit every single person that we have to lead. So I also think when we're trying to get people on board, we need to consider how they perceive us or how they perceive the situation and mold that discussion around that.
Yes.
You know, much like how does this person learn? If they are a learn by doing person, you're not just going to sit them in front of a YouTube clip and go, there you go.
Go off and do it now. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. So I think that is probably one of the most overlooked things when people are going, I've explained this to them so many times, and they nod and say, yep, I understand. That makes sense. Because it's a perception thing.
Yes.
You know? And you can have something explained to you so many times and from the nicest person in the world who you have genuine respect for, but you still aren't engaged and on the bus.
So there's a couple of things in that, Kyle. I was talking about perception yesterday, actually, in a presentation that I was doing, all about how to be the most valuable person in the room. And what we do need to understand is, perception is really important. It's all about somebody else, not you. And that's exactly what you were talking about there. So, you know, you've got to ask a few questions around that. What is important to that person? What do they want out of their role? What is their working style? How do they learn best? All of these sorts of questions. And then that helps you to be able to direct and to lead them, I think. So, yeah, very much. And also two things in there. Learning styles. Yes, learning styles are very different. Some of us learn better by doing. Some of us learn best by reading, so a visual aspect. Some learn in an auditory sense, so by hearing or having someone explain it to us. I learn very well by doing. That tends to be how I learn. I will pick up information, not so much from reading, but more from auditory, but I actually learn by doing. So when I think about my leadership journey, I've been very much a leading by example type leader. I get in the trenches and I learn for myself and I do it, and then others around me see that I'm doing it and I try to help them along the way, you know. So that's certainly how I've gone about things. But so learning styles definitely different, and you know, there's a little bit of research that you can put into that. Communication styles is the other one. So another area that I do a lot of work in, communication styles. Some of us have quite a direct approach to communication. So Kyelie, yourself and I, we're quite direct in how we talk and how we go about things. Other will have that really influencing style, you know. Others will have a very supportive nature in how they communicate. And others will have that very detailed, non-emotional type, just stick to the facts type communication style. So they are apparent in all of us. And just because somebody has one or the other doesn't mean, one, that they can't lead, two, that they can't learn from a leader who communicates differently. It's all just about understanding each other's style, I think.
And being an excellent listener.
Yes.
For both the leader and the other person that you're trying to lead. But I think as the leader, the onus is on you.
Yes.
To make sure that communication is operating as effectively as it can.
Absolutely. So were there any tips around communication as a leader, any sort of structure in what you've done, Kyelie, with regard to leadership, or what you sort of find yourself doing these days in your business?
Yeah, I definitely make sure that I'm checking in with people, particularly when we're going through some change management, which, you know, it's like we do change management all the time.
Yes.
I think it's fun.
Of course you do.
So basically, like, I do regular check-ins with my staff. So it's none of this, like, you know, 6-month performance review and 12-month salary review here. We definitely do that, don't get me wrong, but I do regular check-ins with my staff, mostly informally. That may lead to some sort of formal check-in if necessary, but mostly informally. So I just make sure that I get in front of them in some way, shape or form at least weekly. And if for some reason that cannot happen, I will apologize to them. Sorry, I haven't seen you this week. There's all this stuff going on. Let's catch up here and here and here. So then they at least know and don't feel forgotten about.
That's nice.
Some method in my madness in that, to start with, I just always want them to have the opportunity to come to me with things. It allows me to put out any into office boring political fires that might be arising before they
Might
get
be
out of
brewing,
hand.
yes.
Which happen all the time. We all have it, I'm sure.
Yes.
For me, that's the modern day equivalent to having an open door policy. And I know people still have, my door's always open, come. People just don't do that anymore.
No.
So you really need to go to them.
Yes.
So that's my go to them. And I think that's about me cultivating my network, my inter-office network. You know, I really make sure that I talk to people about things. I know them. I show care for them and their personal situations. Then I have an understanding that if something's going wrong at work or if they need time off, all of a sudden, I know what's going on. I know the background. I'm not frustrated. It allows me to pre-plan. I only see it as win-win, and I see that as an investment of my time. In fact, it's very frustrating to me in weeks like this
where you don't get
I just don't get that time.
Yes, yeah. So Kylie, that's the thing. I think here we've just sort of time to communicate with your team and making that, you know, a priority for you. How have you, I mean, I suppose it comes down to exactly what you just said there about how you view it, that it's so important, that it's an investment in your team. And that it really can't, because if you don't put this investment in your team, then they're not going to be productive and efficient and a, you know, valuable member of the team, really, are they? Like those exercises and that time that you take with them just heightens that, all of those different things, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I see it like it's the funniest thing. But as humans, we operate from love, affection, and care. Like we all know, we do. Like look at our children. You know, they do that. They operate better under those circumstances, and so do we, even as adults. So I know that when I say to my staff, when they leave every day, if I get the opportunity or think to be really honest, to say, "Oh, thanks so much for your help today,"
something small,
that makes such a difference to them, and it's so minor to me, but yet I have to stop what I'm doing and think to say it as they're running out the door. You know, it's just those small things that make such a big difference to not only them individually, but the whole culture of the firm.
Absolutely. And I'll go back, just you mentioned about open door policies. And I think that particularly in accounting, and this might be a little controversial, but I know, right? A little bit of lazy leadership. I think that's trying to be a bit of a lazy leader, really. And so, of course, it's not going to work out so well, because I can tell you that for the majority of us in accounting, we tend to have quite a high level of that supportive communication style. That supportive communication style is not going to be direct and come up and front up at an open door to tell you what's going on with them or what's happening. It's just not how we roll. So I think as a leader, you do need to take the first steps. And even if that's not your natural communication style, you don't have to operate that way all of the time, but realize that it's an investment in your team. And I guarantee you go talk to your team on a regular basis, you'll start to get better results just across the board. So yeah, I think there's a lot that we've got to look to us first as a leader.
I agree. I think about this all the time. The onus is on us as leaders to make it work.
Yes.
So we cannot sit back and think they can come to us.
No.
It's just not how it works anymore. And in the current environment where there's skilled staff shortages, we're all looking for staff, you know, there's all these things. Now more than ever, it's really important that we are sharpening up these skills and making our workplaces the best environments that they can be.
Because it will be internally your team that will also say to perhaps colleagues of theirs, oh yeah, Kylie's great. She's a great leader. She does this, she does that. Well, you know, but you will.
That's what
I'm sure they are, Kylie. But you know, that helps you become the choice of employer over perhaps, you know, the other 10 that they're looking at, because there's that much choice for an employee out there at the moment. And, we're all struggling for that. So the time and effort that you can put into your own leadership is very valuable. If accounting and business in accounting is your future, then I would be looking to this skill, developing this skill, learning more about it. And I also think too that the core to leadership, something that I've always held as a very high value, comes from my childhood as well, is that you can't ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do. So I think that you've got to be shown that if the situation calls for it, I don't mean you're there answering phones every day or doing tax returns or whatever that happens to be. But if the situation calls for it and somebody needs some help, you're not above doing that. And I think
100%.
that's an important thing. Kyelie, you've found yourself in a similar situation just in the last few weeks, haven't you? With your CSA. You were doing some putting together of a tax return.
I have no client services person at the moment. I'm doing all the client services. I'm actually loving it. I might find a new managing partner and I will be the client services person. Great job. It's a fantastic job. I love it. It's great.
But,
yes.
It was interesting for you to be able to have, you had to step back into that, right?
Yeah. And I love it. Like one of my favorite things about running this firm and this business is the fact that I do know how to do everybody else's job, and that's important to me because as a leader I do expect that all my staff will boycott me one day and come and quit all at the same time together, like
no, they will not.
Like one of those movies where they just decide they hate you and they all come together and hand their resignation in like a mass boycott.
You're going to have an IQ Armageddon, are you?
Yeah, totally. So I think it's super important to me that I know how to do everyone's jobs, even though there's so many clients I couldn't possibly say.
No, I don't think so. You've just told us really your worst nightmare. That's what you're worried about.
No, that's not even the worst nightmare.
Oh, there's more. Oh, one day we'll have to delve into Kylie's nightmares.
I know. But you know what? One other thing I wanted to say is I think we need to look at what we tell our staff about the way we want to service our clients.
Yes.
And then self-reflect on the way, are we treating our staff that way as well? So, for us here, we have a 24-hour communication turnaround with clients, not workflow turnaround because that would be great.
No.
But like definitely if someone contacts us, we will get back to them with 24 hours.
Communication.
So I have the same thing with my staff. If my staff say to me, hey, can I just have a quick chat with you about something? I need to do that within 24 hours, even if it's to say, is it a big thing or a small thing? Because if it's a big thing, we can do that on Friday. That's how I deal with my clients.
Yes.
Is this a 15 or less minute chat? Yes or no?
Okay, I can do that now. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I think we need to lend our staff the same courtesies that we're lending our clients. Like I always say, we have a relationship-based firm and it's one of the secrets to our success. We don't lose a lot of clients. Same with my staff. Like I need to treat them the same way that I'm asking them to treat our clients.
Yes. And I think, thinking about how you treat your clients, might take a little bit of reflection on your part too. What is it that's really important to your clients? And then, make sure that same process is being carried out with your staff, because you hit on before that human instinct. No one comes to a job to do a bad job. They don't turn up every day to do a bad job. They are looking for reassurance, support, encouragement, empowerment, all of those things, and communication and being thanked for doing, some small things or just thank you for today. That is all reassurance around that they're doing a good job. Or even feedback if there's some things that, you might need to talk to them about. That all goes with the whole flow of leadership. And I think making the time to do that's just so very important, because that's what your employees are looking for, or the people around you are looking for. I think most people too also like accountability. I think accountability is another really important side of leadership, and also really encouraging people to be the best that they can be.
I think one of the most frustrating things about being a leader is watching someone struggle. Like it's painful to them. It's painful to us as the leaders. It's frustrating. Most of the time we know that it's costing us money and it's really difficult. And I say this all the time, but, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So once again, I think the onus is on us. We're the ones that are in control. If this person is doing the same thing and getting the same outcome, we have to change that. We have to then step in and go, you cannot do this way. You have to we have to redirect them. Like I joke all the time that my staff are like my children. Like, you need to stop that and do it like this. And then if they don't do it the different way, you have to take action, right?
Yes.
But in the first part, you have to redirect them. Like, they have to be taught, they have to be trained properly, or it's on us.
Exactly. And I think a lot of too, I was talking about our communication style. We see a lot of that supportive communication style in accounting, that we don't want to hurt people's feelings. Kyelie, how do we give them feedback that they, you know, that they're doing something the wrong way and we need to tell them? And it's like, but isn't it going to hurt their feelings?
Yeah, I guess I have a different approach. It's not,
I do too.
It's not that I don't care about hurting people's feelings. I care very much about people's feelings, but I think it's more important for people to know where they stand. One of the biggest things that I find is that people would much rather know that their work is rubbish or excellent than for you to say nothing, and then at their performance review or at their salary review, they suddenly find out that they're a C-class accountant when they thought they were an A-plus accountant.
Yes.
So I give constant feedback all the time about, hey, that's not your best work and you got to try that again.
Yes.
And when I think you're consistent and fair with your feedback, people just get used to it. And I'm not saying I haven't had staff here before that are like, oh, no one's ever told me that my work's bad before. It's not confronting for them and difficult for me to say, but I would I always say, look, it's not personal criticism. It's just, that's not how we do it. And this is where you need to be. So I will always give that relevant and direct feedback every single time with every single job, so that people know where they stand, and our expectations of work quality and standards are very, very clear.
Yes. And again, I think that harks back again to, why are we doing what we're doing? And you can always frame and reference a conversation around that, particularly when it feels like it might be a little hard to deliver a certain piece of feedback. And I think that, you know, if you can find the why and the good reason around why you're giving this feedback, and you can articulate that. And again, that might take a little bit of time or reflection for you. What makes you a leader? Why do you want this to work out? That's important, because then you've got a frame and a structure to use in these conversations with your team. So mine has always been, I want to see you do the best that you can do. I want us all to work together as a team and really get some amazing outcomes, both for you, for me, for the client. Everybody wins if we can. So I will also give feedback where it's required. And I think people appreciate that. And when you are talking to staff, certainly up front when they join the team, then if you talk about those expectations, like you said, Kyelie, they're not they might still be a little bit confronted by it if they've not had that before, but it's not unexpected.
No, it's not unexpected. And I think that probably leads me to one of the personality traits that you need to have as a leader. This sounds so funny, but you need to have a really good, strong mentality. I think you have to be strong mental, you've got to have strong mental toughness to handle difficult and complex situations, because leadership is not all smiles and roses. It's really not. And I think there would be no one in this room that would say, oh, I've had a great run, nothing has ever gone wrong. There is stuff that goes wrong, and we get to this time of the year and sometimes things just the wheels fall off because everyone's tired and grumpy.
Yes.
So I think you really, if you want to be a leader or you are a leader, you really need to work on your personal strength to deal with tough situations and tough conversations in the way that you would hope that you would deal with them.
Yes.
So, you know, not everybody's style is exactly the same, but you want to think what you want to be known for. Do you want to be known for that person that loses it every time that it goes wrong? And if you do, totally cool, right? That's fun.
Yes.
But do you want to be known for somebody that can handle those difficult and tough conversations?
And resilience, you know, what you're talking about there is resilience, to be able to bounce back when things do go wrong, because invariably life throws a lot of curveballs. And so, you know, things will go wrong. And, you know, it's very important to be able to do that. And something that you were talking about there before, and when things go wrong, how about saying I was wrong, eating humble pie, Kylie? Where do you put that in the whole leadership journey?
I put that in tough mentality as well.
Yeah, okay.
So for me, that's where I put that. You know, you as a leader, you really have to know yourself, right?
Yes.
And you have to be okay with yourself as well, because if you're not and you're really unsure, people are going to read through that. That's where that executive presence gets a bit knocked around, because you boycott people that are all going to boycott you on the same day at the same time. They will see that.
Yes.
So I'm never.
Well, it's like your children. Let's gang up on mum and dad. You know, that's the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, completely. And nobody's perfect. Like, I'm certainly not a perfect leader. All I do is try hard every single day.
That's exactly right.
And I would love to say that I never scream and shout. I have a shout once or twice a year, and every time I do it, I'm like, well, that's one. So now I've only got one to go, and that's
so everyone's safe for some time. Yeah, so it should be fine.
But the thing about me, and I'll be super, super honest about this, I get overstuffed really, really easily. So if I get annoyed about something, because I am someone that just says it how it is, and I will say, that is rubbish and that is not okay, and we need to figure out what went wrong, and here's the 4 things we're going to do so that never happens again. I'm genuinely fine 10 minutes later, because I know we've already unpacked it, found the problem and resolved it.
So I think you raise a very good point there. Something that, again, I see in the accounting profile and how we go about things, and even just over the years from working in accounting and watching managers and leaders go about, you know, how they direct their teams and lead. And I think timely feedback is something that gets missed. Now, we'll see something happening. Our first instinct that we don't like, that is maybe wrong. And so our first instinct in our communication style is, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. That's okay. That's fine. But then I need to think about how I would communicate that, because it's not our, like you said, Kylie, you just come out and you say what things are. We don't always see that with, you know, through accounting a lot. If you can, fabulous. But if you can't, you need a bit of time to process. What am I going to say? When am I going to say it? The thing with that, though, is there can't be too much time between when the thing has actually happened and when you're actually giving that feedback. So 3 weeks later, it ain't going to work.
It's because it's not fair. It's not fair to that staff member or that team who's definitely moved on and thought it was okay, because it feels like you're rehashing it. It feels like you're bringing up something that everybody's moved on from and that they thought that it was okay.
Yes. So if I can instill anything in those that are listening to us today, it would be timely feedback. So in order to be able to do that too, as a leader, if that's how you see yourself, or you have roles where these skills are required, there's got to be some flex time in what you do to enable you to be able to do that, right, Kylie?
Yeah, so that comes down to decision making.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be a relatively quick and sound decision maker. Like, there's decisions that can't be made quickly, certainly, but when it comes to leading your team or your firm, generally you can't sleep on it for weeks and weeks.
No.
Like, if it's something that has happened and you need to respond, you have to do so in a timely manner.
Absolutely. And I think too, what we've seen a general flow through the discussion this morning, and of course we welcome anybody else's comments or questions. We'd love to hear from you. So yeah, look, tell us about your own leadership journey, the challenges and the wins. We'd love to hear about that. You just hit on your little hand icon and we can have a chat with you. But I think to the general message that's coming through here is that leadership is about us, and leadership is about us understanding who we are, why we do what we want to do, our own communication styles, how that communication style might or might not work with other communication styles or learning styles as well. Emotional intelligence is another one I'll just throw around in there. You talked about decision making and, you know, being able to just react quite quickly to situations. Emotional intelligence about being able to say that I'm wrong. I was wrong. I'm sorry for that. Let's move on. That all comes into that aspect of things. So a lot of personal work around who we are, what we want to be, and then that just flows inside out, right, Kylie, I think?
I think so. And there's more to being a leader than just being the boss as well.
Absolutely.
We've talked a lot about boss stuff. I want to share with you guys the other sort of things that I make sure that we do as a team, because it really adds to the culture of the firm. So twice a year we have staff fun day.
Nice.
And at the end of every year before our Christmas party, so we also do Christmas party and we do Melbourne Cup and all those other sorts of things that many people do. But one of the things that we do is we have an amazing race day at the end of each year. And we've been doing this for like 14 or 15 years, a very, very long time.
I think I've seen this on your social media somewhere, Kylie, from time to time. Yeah, okay.
We're not doing it this year. We're just having a fun day just because I've got a couple of staff over the border and it's a bit divisive.
It's a bit tricky.
Yeah, but it takes me so much work to plan, but it is so fun, and I plan it all myself. And the staff get into teams, and we have a theme. And they dress up, and they go around, you know, to Coast and Brisbane, and they collect the clues, and they have an absolute ball. And they literally talk about it for the entire year, the next year, and it is so fun for them. And then we also have a fun day where we've gone to Dreamworld before, we've done high ropes, we've just gone bowling, we've done escape rooms, like we've done all that sort of thing. And I think bonding with the team is so important because we work in a pretty stressful industry. You know what I mean? Like, people think accountants are boring. I would beg to differ. Because the stress that we get put on by our clients is a bit insane. Like, clients they can get a bit psycho sometimes about just their tax work. Like, we're not brain surgeons. But
we're also high achievers. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So it's stressful, and I think we need to acknowledge the fact that our staff feel that stress as well. So it's really important to have those team building events and days, make sure everybody's connecting, getting along, because the more that you can build up those interpersonal relationships, here's my top secret, the less work you have to do as a leader. Because
really?
That's my secret, because they go to each other and then they also go to you. So if there is actually a problem that you haven't noticed with someone else will probably come and tell you about that. Which is really, really helpful. And it just means that team members who get along will be more willing to help each other with tasks like, how do I do this journal entry, or just other boring, mundane stuff, which frees up your time to deal with the higher level things. If you can create some team spirit, it just makes everybody into one more, I guess, cohesive sort of unit.
Absolutely.
I think it means that everyone comes down to one level as well. Like, we run it pretty flat, but it puts everyone on the same playing field, literally.
I agree. I think that's the main role of a leader, is to create culture. And, you know, you need to know what type of culture you want to have. But I think that is the main role, and how you go about that then, you know, like you said, Kylie, makes less work for you. It's just so much easier. And, whether that's culture around communication, openness, trust, accountability, empowerment, solution focused, having a growth mindset, all of those wonderful words. There'll be a whole lot of those words listed on that link that's there for you too, all around different values. So decide, what you want to have as a culture and then go about building it. And I think if you reflect all of those things, then they will be reflected back to you. But it very much is about you personally and what you want to look to being as a leader. I just want to go back to something a little bit too about some of the physical aspects too, because I think generally we can, and really simple things, generally I think we can be a little bit not forthcoming or not direct or feel like we don't have confidence. I think there's a couple of things too that I think just helps us see ourselves as a leader as well. And I think there's some stuff in taking pride in your own appearance and what that looks like. Some really just basic, we don't have to have designer clothes or amazing suits or things like that. But, dress a bit smart. It makes you feel confident. Go into the office looking smart. And I think, I don't know about you, Kylie, but I have seen a lot. We've done a lot of work in Zoom and in the digital format over the last few years. And to see a professional that's just in, well, not as far as pajamas, but in their, civic clothes or home clothes, and they're doing a meeting that involves clients or other team members. I don't know. Does that show exactly what you want to have happen?
Really interesting story. The other day, Monday it poured down here at the Gold Coast, and I was going out to lunch with one of my ex-staff members. So I was meeting him over at Varsity. I left literally when it was pouring down, and in my car was a denim jacket that I had, and I was dressed for work. So I put this denim jacket on and I came and wore it back into the office. And because I had gotten a little bit wet, despite my umbrella,
it was a very heavy rainstorm for everybody
ridiculous, like monsoon weather. It's not Gold Coast.
No.
So I kept my denim jacket on for the rest of the day, and I didn't think anything of it. Every single person in the office commented.
See, interesting, because they weren't used to seeing you like that.
No. And it was definitely my casual weekend denim jacket.
Yeah, it was clearly a casual.
Shocked. I was still in my heels. I was still in my workout. I just had my denim jacket on. And I got you still got that jacket on.
So I think, there's certainly something in dressing tidy and cleanly and all of those things, and taking a bit of pride in your appearance. It doesn't mean it's I think it's just good quality, tidy ironed clothes. That's another thing I see. And it's like, it's just taking a bit of pride in your appearance, I think.
Look, it's so old school, but it's like that dress for success thing.
Yes.
And the look good, feel good thing.
Yes.
I think if you think you look good and you feel good, go for it.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
But for me, definitely in the early days, I started my leadership journey quite young. It definitely helped me to dress up. People definitely give you more respect if you dress the part. Yes.
I've got another couple of things. I also think generally just smiling, looking people in the eye, that's important. I think again too, there's a whole lot. You can go off and have a look at all the research about smiling and how it uses all the muscles and creates endorphins and all of that amazing stuff. So I think smiling, being able to look people in the eyes, I think also builds trust and builds authority. Handshakes, not that we've been necessarily handshaking so much in the last little while. We've been elbow bumping or foot tapping or doing other various things. But I think having a nice firm handshake is not a bad idea either. I think this goes across. I often, I shake a lot of hands these days. I meet a lot of people, and there's nothing more off-putting to me than somebody that doesn't at least hold my hand firmly. And I have to admit, I make these first impressions and I make assumptions around that. Whether I should or I shouldn't be, that's a whole different story. But I do. And so I think, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter. Just, we're not trying to have a grip race and, break someone's hand. We just want to, hold their hand firmly and securely. The other thing I like to pass on to people, and I pass this on to, I've got a couple of clients doing some small business coaching with me at the moment, and they're young and they've got a very successful business and they've not really seen themselves as business owners. And something I passed on to them the other day was when they introduce themselves, to say their full name, including their surname. So just say, hi, I'm Linda Steffens. Not, hi, I'm Linda. There's a difference in authority level there when you use your surname. I don't know how you feel about that, Kyelie.
I agree with you.
You agree?
I agree with you. I think it's a really interesting thing when people ask you what you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a quality that comes, I don't like to tell people I'm an accountant because it generally ends the conversation there.
What do you say? Do you make something up or what do you say?
Oh, it depends on the situation, Linda, and also how many drinks I've had at the time.
You come up with some funny story. I know. I used to do
me.
a lot of it. Yes. I used to do a lot of similar things. But I think, even on the phone, answering the phone, hi, it's Linda Steffens, or it's Linda Steffens calling, from such and such. I do think, again, these are physical things that you can do for yourself that just instills a bit of confidence back into you. And then again, when you feel confident, then that's going to reverberate out from you and to others around you. I think it's just good business sense, to do some of those things. So there's definitely some of those physical things in leadership, stand tall, I think, is the thing. And confidence will come if you're not particularly confident around leading. Gosh, we've gone through this hour very quickly, Kyelie.
Good topic.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for us? Anyone want to ask us something? Or one more thing I'll put into, if you want to do some reading, I particularly like Simon Sinek's work around leadership. He's got loads of books and loads of stuff going on social media. So Leaders Eat Last is his main leadership book, I would say. But he also has the Start With Your Why and a whole lot of other stuff. But I don't think he's got a podcast, but he's certainly got a lot of videos and things like that around.
Heaps of good stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. Heaps of stuff on YouTube.
Good TED Talk.
Yes, he has, hasn't he? Yes. All right. So if you want to find out more, that's a good way to do it. But clearly we're thinking that leadership is all about us. It starts with us. And take some time to look into that if you want to improve in your leadership skills, style, whatever that looks like, better outcomes. If that's what you're looking for, look to yourself first. And I think that's where you'll get the most bang for your buck. Okay. Next week, Kyelie, we're back next week, next Wednesday. Holy smokes, it's the 1st of December already. Oy. We're nearly there. Let's look at it that way. We're nearly there. We'll take the positive spin. So we're going to talk about next week how to grow your fees without growing your client base.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, well, you like that one? Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things in that one, how to grow your fees without growing your client base. So for those of you that aren't a member of the Public Practice Accountants Club, please hop on and become a member, because that's where you can find all of what we're talking about. We do always have a number of weeks topics in advance, and we're also now doing some of this live streaming as well. So, of course, we'd love to hear from you if you've got topics that you'd like to talk about. And we did have a topic delivered to us during the week, which is fabulous, which we've slotted in and we'll do before the end of December. So we've got some, we will be here definitely next week. We're not going to be with you the following week, but then we're going to wrap it up with a really cool topic as we go into Christmas. So Kylie, any final thoughts just on leadership?
Yeah, I think we've covered so many important things, but if when you go away and think about all of these things, you're still a bit like, well, there's not much for me to do. The best place to start is actually to ask for feedback, which can be so confronting and so difficult, but we actually as leaders give feedback all the time. So I think we also need to be willing to receive it. So the easiest question to be is, if you had to describe me as a leader in 5 words, what would they be?
Yes.
And no explanation needed. You can just go away and ponder it, or you can go back then and ask them and unpack it. You have to be in a good mental space for that.
Yes.
Very strong, willing to take it, no right or wrong, no consequences of that conversation. But I think it's a really good time to do it at this time of year, because you're going into the holidays, and then you can sort of help with your own personal goal setting for next year. And also you might get the best feedback ever, and it might be the loveliest Christmas present you'll get.
Exactly. I think don't be frightened of that. And again, comes back to the fact that as a leader, you can't ask somebody else to do what you're not willing to do. So if you're not willing to receive feedback, then the others around you, it's like, well, you don't take it, or don't take it well, or don't do anything with it positively, then they're not going to either. So that's the real key. Thank you, Kyelie Baxter. Amazing as always. And
thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. And of course, you mentioned goal setting. We're going to do some goal setting actually early in January after the holidays. So we're going to talk about that. So stay tuned, everybody. There's lots more to come as we hit the new year. So I hope you have a wonderful day, everybody. And of course, to you, Kyelie, and a great week. And we will talk to you next week.
See you guys. Have a wonderful week. Bye.